Okay, recording has started.
Perfect. So let's be serious now. Um, okay.
So thank you for the opportunity, brother. And I'm very thankful to our dearest Swami for giving me this opportunity to be his humble instrument and for his continuous and incessant guidance, despite the numerous faults and, the mistakes that I have been doing. But he still continues to guide. That's the beauty of Swami. And given those experiences during the physical times of Swami, that set some sort of an idea as to what physical Swami looked like. I'm not sure on this call how many of us have seen Swami physically and have had the opportunity to have that proximity, the closeness. But then I got very attached to that. I used to, most of the times during my youth, either be in Prashanti or I used to kind of bunk college and I used to be in Whitefield doing seva. Then one of the times Swami said, get out of Whitefield, never come back. I was heartbroken. I never knew the meaning of why our Lord, dearest Lord, told get out. Okay, there are various meanings, and we usually attribute it to the closest possible meaning that we know. I did not treat it in the right spirit. And then I tried coming back to Whitefield. That time, the gate that usually kind of allows the cars to pass through and the trains to pass through was broken. So we tried multiple routes. The tire got punctured. The car broke down. Somebody met with an accident, people who are following us. So basically, when Swami's will is that you need to be there somewhere else to carry out his duty, that is what we need to do with utmost obedience. So he started inculcating the spirit into me. And over a period of these last 25 years, it's a quarter of a century, he's inculcated that in various ways, being my divine teacher. And even now, when I see Swami, I see him like this, all chubby and bubbly. Now, literally, when I mean I see Swami, it is like he gives appearances here and there. And I will share more as we go through. So today's topic is all about connecting with that omnipresent side, right? And from the youth days, I've been very close to doing seva, services, and service and service. And services, I will come to that as to why I refer to it as services as well. Because now, service for me, last time I used to say is only seva, service. But through the service, if I can do services, if I can connect multiple things, it turns into services, right? So that with that spirit, I started off with Swami's grace. So how and what happened? Let me share with you. So I had many plans, okay? My wall used to be filled with ideas. I used to write books and books with ideas. And then I wanted to kind of have success in everything that I did. But how was that going to be possible? Only with Swami's grace. Because Swami, during the physical darshans, always kind of stressed upon the fact of taking care of providing health to people, making sure that people had drinking water, because in India, drinking water was always a problem. And most importantly, education. It could be spiritual education. It could be education through the books, that is college education, school education, and getting them enough so that they can get a job and lead a life of, being a better instrument for the society. So when the time came to choose, I finished my school and I was getting into graduation in India. Then that was the time Swami said, what do you want to do? Swami asked me what I wanted to do. I said, Swami, I want to work for you. Then he said, okay, work for me. What do you want to choose? So I said, Swami, can you choose for me? He said, that's the easiest way. You always put the responsibility on my shoulders. Write down what you want to do and how you want to kind of serve me. I said, Swami, in everything that I do, I want to serve you. I want to serve the people. I want to increase the services so that everything that I do through your guidance connects those people to you. So can you do that? Then Swami appeared one of the days in the morning before I was about to submit my admission forms. So he said, no, don't become a doctor. Doctor means you will only be able to treat people, maybe 10,000 in a lifetime. What if I give you an opportunity to help a few million, if not billions of people. I said, yes, Swami. We are always we are always thinking of numbers, right? So I said, yes, that's a better option. Okay, so no doctor, look into IT. So I said, fine, I will look into IT. But Swami, what is the connection between health, drinking water, and education and IT? He said, look at it as information technology being used for internal transformation, IT for IT. Ha, ching, all the bugs glue. And I said, okay, that's a fantastic idea. So when I got the opportunity to do a few things for the Satyasai Books and Publications Trust through Radio Sai, what we did was first is we started scanning all the books, hard copy books. I had a huge team. We used to put all those into PDF files and then post it on the Book Publication Trust website. We had all the cassette tapes that Swami's discourses were there. We started converting them into CDs and digitizing them and then putting it onto the website. So that's how the initial days it started. So Swami said, this is a part of spiritual education. So my message is reaching people. Now you understand what is IT being used for? Information technology being used for internal transformation. See, that is food for thought. Then second part, he told me, then I asked him, Swami, you told about drinking water and health. Now, how do I get into those? Swami said, put all the articles about drinking water onto IT platform. Let people benefit from it. Let the articles reach out to people and let them be inspired. Let them be educated as to how to bring drinking water to the others in the world. Fantastic. Then came the turn of health. Now for health, it's a very, very touchy and a difficult subject because there are lots of things that you need to get together. Now, that is why he finally kept the best for the last. Okay. So in my job, basically what Swami promised me is that he will give me an opportunity to serve the people of this world. So what do I do? These are the places that I usually travel to on the globe, right? So there are red dots. These are the places that I usually go for my work, or my work has taken me because of Swami. So there are still a few more places because when I was young, I always wanted to learn from people from various walks of life as to what they've achieved in life and then come back to India and then implement. So Swami said, no, 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 no. Your outlook is very, very, very wrong. You are thinking that India is backward. This was in the 90s. So I said, yes, Swami, we need to learn from the others and then bring our nation. He said, no, no, no. Our nation is very rich in culture. Just wait and watch where India goes to and where you go to. Everywhere that Indians go will be respected. This is what Swami told me in 90s. Because I was from India and I'm still from India, right? So that was the time he said, I never, even in my wildest of dreams or thoughts, imagined that, okay, this is going to be something. But then later, when I did a few things through Swami's instructions, because almost every day in the morning, he would tell me, Anand, today we're going to meet this person. All this is being omnipresent, right? We'll meet this person. We will talk to him about this. Just be prepared with a plan. Okay. So when I work on a plan, which Swami will again guide, things will just happen. Now, how do they happen? Let us look at it. So the very first thing is, the spirit is the most important thing. Now, even when Swami tells a few things, how do we listen to Swami? How do we concentrate? And many a times there's always this confusion, right? Now, whether it is Swami telling me or it's my internal self. So let us look at for a moment, try to analyze what the word spirit actually stands for. What are the synonyms? So if you look at it, it's got character, it's got courage, it's got enthusiasm, it's got liveliness, it's got motivation. So one word has multiple meanings. Okay. So Swami said, first, to understand the spirit of spirit, you need to start from Om, because that is the life force of everything. Now, for anything that has a life force, Om is behind. And you say that I am omnipresent, I am omnipotent, I am omniscient. But have you understood that Om is common in all the three? Om is a common denomination in all the three. Because the life force is the one that makes it be present in the present. It is a present for the present. It is the force that makes it potent. It is the one which makes it all-knowing. So Swami's definition was basically kind of mind-blowing. I'm sure you people might also be thinking, hey, such a simple, such simple three words, but the meaning is such. So when Swami made me kind of explain about the spirit of spirit, I started understanding, oh, there are so many things. That is why when somebody says spirit, probably one of you might understand it to be willpower. The other might think it is liveliness. The other might understand based on your, whatever is your experience, as warmth, as vitality. So word is one, but the meanings are many and interpretations are far many more. So now, so what is the right spirit? Swami always pushed me to be out of my comfort zone. It's very important for us because being youngsters, we would always select something that's easy for us to work with. That is why he never made the choice of what I need to do with my career and with my life. He guided me to make that decision. Now, we always know that once we get into the comfort zone, we become very comfortable. But usually, stretching our limits is what takes us to heights. And that is what Swami always wants us to do. Being youth, that is the time for us to always explore what is beyond the comfort zone. Never settle into your comfort zone. Never, ever. Work with things that have always made you uncomfortable. Make discomfort your comfort. And at that point in time, when I was in my 20s, Swami always used to tell me, you have to sail the ocean. You have to sail it. Because our life is an ocean, right? We've got so many things, we are in this world with so many people around us. But when you understand why you are in it, because everybody says, I want to know who I am. Why am I here? What is my purpose? So then Swami said, the spirit of sailing the ocean with internal transformation is basically to become Sai lit. Anything that has the life force or energy coming out of it, we say that it is lit. That is why we've got L-I-G-H-T, light. And something that was already lit in the past is lit, because we come to this life to be able to understand what lit us. Because then Swami said, L-I-G-H-T, remember what it stands for? I said, yes, Swami, please remind me. So he said, look inside or look inwards. God hides there. L-I-G-H-T. Oh, yes. Once you understood that God hides in there, it changes to lit because it's already been lit. That is the bulb that is glowing. And Swami says, Swami kept on telling me, understand the meaning of the word Sai. S-A-I. So am I. You read it together. So me, so me, so me, so me. So am I, so me. So am I, so me. What does that mean? It means Satchidananda. So kind of I was blown away, absolutely. This is how Swami has been talking. And this is how he plays with words. This is how he tells me things. And then that gave birth to an article or a series of books, which we published with the youth from Educare side. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. Swami gave me the idea of how to inspire the youth from sailing the ocean with internal transformation. And now is the age of information technology, because everything that you touch, connect, see, feel, everything is driven by technology. So you need to know how to sail the ocean with that for internal transformation. So he made me read a book when I was very young. It was called The Self-Discipline Blueprint, a book by Patrick Edblad. Okay, I follow some of the things from that even now, because one of the key things that Swami always taught me was to never treat an obstacle as an obstacle, but always think of it as an opportunity for growth. And that is what basically kept on building that resistance. And like I shared earlier, let the discomfort be your comfort. Face it head on. So nowadays I keep telling my team in my office, hey guys, we are in a time where pressure is pleasure. And when I combine business and leisure, it becomes pleasure. Okay. So that is how is the spirit with which Swami has been training me to understand and not basically be too sensitive to discomfort. That doesn't mean that I always get the best from Swami. He tests me. He literally, it's like a machine wash. All of it happens like you've got the wash cycle, you've got the rinse cycle, and once it is the spin dry cycle, yeah, almost all of us go through that every time. So I think you'll share the pain for that. So Swami's always taught me to develop self-discipline. Now, being given the choice, I would like to lay back on the sofa and then pick up a book, read, and be absolutely lazy. Yes, I do that. Not very often, but once I set small goals for the day. Once I've achieved the most difficult goal for the day, then I give myself a small reward, because the body should not get used, or the mind should not get used to always being rewarded. So this happened in the office when I was in Changi Business Park. So Swami came into the office when I was just preparing for a meeting. So he walked in and he walked into my cubicle. He closed the door. He sat on the red chair, which I usually keep for him. And he said, Anand, today let us discuss the spirit of spirit. Being in the office, I said, Swami, my meeting is going to start. Swami said, today your schedule has been changed. Your meeting is with Sai himself. So let us discuss the spirit of spirit. Okay. Now, especially for the youth who are swimming in that ocean of existence, ask them to adopt the right spirit. Very important. If they are with me and I swim with them, they swim with me. Then, because they are able to swim and come to the other side of the shore, they walk in style. And while they're walking in style, it's very important that the ego does not build into them. So what they should do is always look at ATMs around them. Sorry, ATM? No, wait, don't interrupt. Listen to me. Okay. But after they draw from ATMs, that is when they actually reach the shore. And that reaching the shore means they are leading a Sai lit life. Now, for anything to change from one position to the other, there is some energy needed. There is some motivation needed. And that motivation is called a jolt. Because when we are in ourselves, we don't realize. But there has to be an external factor pushing us always, hitting us and kind of telling us, move. That is the jolt. That is the excitement. That is that energy. That is that Om, which is in everything. And that jolt is what takes you from the current state of being a simple human being, imbibing Swami's values, starting with the right spirit, at least taking the first step to swim, and then to walk, because in the ocean of existence, you can't walk on water. You've got to swim first. And with God's grace, you can walk on water. I was kind of thinking, Swami, this is too much. Let me write it down. So I started writing it down. Swami said, go and share. What is the whole goal? To connect with the inner side. So am I. I am one with Swami. Swami says there's no difference between you and me. It's just that I have realized God and you are still in the process of realizing. So Swami being within and guiding is to connect with our inner side and to become ideal Sai youth. Now, ideal is basically following these few steps and becoming his living examples. And then to be his messengers of love, because love is such a feeling that basically it gives a jolt to anybody who needs that little bit of influence for that day, or influence for that time, or influence for a lifetime. And thereby living these three and kind of achieving little bits of these goals, we transform our lives by being Sai lit. So we are educated, literary, and we are lit. We are kind of becoming the lighthouse, because then what happens is when we stand as a lighthouse, people look at us, people understand, and people adjust their compasses, just like the ships in the ocean that look for this lighthouse and then start moving towards it. So we become that very lighthouse in that society, and we start creating lighthouses. Wow, this was mind-boggling. Swami spoke to me for 1.5 hours that day, and I wrote down everything. And after that, I realized, hey, I have not attended my meeting. Then people said, hey, Anand, we heard that you rescheduled the meeting. No problem, it is fine. The bosses said it is okay. So when Swami has chosen us to do our work, we have to be available, and he will do the rest of it. He takes care of everything. Now, Swami says simple things. Everything is very simple. His instructions are simple, but very difficult to interpret and make it happen in life, right? Practicality is always a question for us. So what he said is, everything is an acronym. Everything is a synonym. Everything is an antonym, but it is what you make out of it. I can give you the recipe, but if you interpret it to be the wrong ingredient, I will come back and tell you. But nothing is wrong because everything happens with my will. I was completely confused. I said, Swami, you're telling us to choose. You're telling that if you make the wrong choice, it will still be correct. But if I make the wrong choice and it is still correct, how do I learn which is the correct one? Swami said, unless you learn to become uncomfortable, stretch your boundaries, make sure that anything that you starts with the right spirit. So by spirit, he means spiritual practice infuses rapid internal transformation. So the moment you bring in spirituality, that jolt, the little voltage that is needed has started. That's the battery. Then you have to swim in the ocean, right? You can't walk first when you step into the ocean. And that's where we are. So Swami's words inspire me. Look for my words. Now I can speak to you through various methods, through various ways, through various means. It depends on with what spirit you started off your day. So my words will come to you. I will choose the best mode. But then what happens is, you have to be the example that my words are actually affecting you, and they are taking effect and effect. So you create your own style. You become distinguished Sai youth. So spiritually transformed youth as leading examples. So once you start listening to my words, once you start hearing me, once you start imbibing these words and putting them into practice in life, you develop your own style. That's the lifestyle. And we see ATMs nowadays. We don't even need to go to bank to withdraw money. So is there a ready person you can approach to be able to always draw from? Because in the ocean, what happens is you become tired, swimming against the tide. You have to look at those leading examples, atmically transformed models, who basically are kind of already, they have crossed that peak, they are at the peak of their connection with Swami. Look at them. How is Swami influencing their lives? What are they living? How are they living? And then always draw from them, read from them. It is not essentially that they are Sai devotees. They need not be Sai devotees. It could be Warren Buffett. It could be Bill Gates. It could be anybody. They are all ATMs. It's just not because of money. It's just not because it's billions. But they have formed their own lifestyle, and they have made sure that they become ATM for other people to look at and become distinguished in the society. So those are my words. And he says, hurt never. Speak softly, sweetly, and lovingly. Imagine after having a bad start to the day, people are just always kind of making your day far worse. But that's how Swami tests us to see whether we have started with the right spirit. We've been swimming with his words and with him by our side. We've been adopting that lifestyle, and we've been drawing from those ATMs as and when needed. Because when we don't have enough money in the wallet, of course, in Singapore, we can use plastic money. But if you look at the actual terms where in shops they don't accept plastic money, you still need money. And that is your spiritual currency. It's the spiritual bank from which you draw. So what happened was, with all this information, we published a few issues of Sail It. And there was, at one time, there was a competition. People were kind of, when they knew that, okay, Swami was actually looking for people with the Sail It copy, calling them physically, and then, blessing it. There was a rush. People were telling, hey, I'm going to Parthi. Do you have a copy of Sail It this time that I can take to Swami? I said, Swami, your words, your things, and it's coming back to you. So what is this Leela that is happening? What are you doing? Swami said, everything is Sai Leela. And the people who were reading it kind of were getting transformed. Swami said, look at it from that perspective. At least they are coming to me because it's my will. Everything is my will. Don't look at it that, oh, people are now rushing because a sailor is getting blessed. I said, Swami, everything is yours. It's your Leela. Okay, I'll take a short break here. So, how's the session been so far? Monologue is kind of at a pause. So let's open for a dialogue.
I think exhilarating, brother.
Sorry?
It's exhilarating.
Oh, Sairam.
It's beyond really. I think I think you're not sailing us, you're just making us jump like Hanuman crossing the sea, you know. Fantastic.
Wonderful. So,
but you should hear from the other youth.
Yes, I was just about to ask. Any inputs, any queries?
No, sorry, brother. I think I'm really enjoying the wordplay that you're using on us. From like light to IT to IT. I think it's very interesting. But I'm a little bit confused, like with your salad explanation.
Yeah.
Like basically, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Ask your question.
Basically, what you're saying is people are supposed to follow like the 5 steps you laid out in their journey across the ocean to meet Swami, is it?
Correct. That's right. Not meet Swami, because we have come into this life with a purpose. Now, many of us, we spend at least the first 30 to 35 years trying to find out what that purpose is. Right? And that is what we call swimming in the ocean. Because until you've found a purpose, because ocean is far and wide. And now we have started with the GPS, right? Nowadays it's easy because you've got a GPS and you know it says northwest 20 degrees. Yes, you set your GPS, you program and you move, you follow that line. But in life, to set our GPS, we need certain positioning, certain coordinates.
Right.
We are already in the ocean. Now, how do we set our coordinate? And remember, everything around us is always constantly changing. Change is the only constant. So at that point in time, how do you sail it? Because today, say when you talk to Brother Deva, he might tell you, stop reading, sail it. Tomorrow, when you meet Pavitra, she'll tell, hey, I read Sail It and it was fantastic. Then day after tomorrow, when you meet me, I will tell you, drop all these things. Now just pick up that book by Patrick Edblad because it's got the blueprint for everything that Swami says. But it's not spiritually connected. Right. So now, within 3 days, you've got 3 different instructions. Which one do you position your GPS coordinates? Because before driving, we usually set the coordinates, right? We set the destination. Now, how do you set that destination?
I think you just gotta pick one of the courses, right? Like pick one direction that you want to go to or that suits you.
Correct. That suits you. Excellent. That's the right choice of the word. For which you need to have the right spirit, right?
Right. Okay.
Now, how does the spirit develop? It is because of your past experiences, because someone told you to do something or you made a conscientious decision to follow that path and you experienced success. So next time you always attribute that is your destination, either your immediate destination or your intermediary point to the destination. It's a milestone, as we call it. So in consistently being able to do that, it becomes a habit. Now, say, for example, when you want to study for a subject, you absolutely hate that subject, but you still have got to study and pass it because it's mandatory for you to move or get your promotion to the next class. Then what happens? What happens to the spirit in that case?
Yeah, your spirit is probably a bit down, right?
Correct. And then you still have got to do it. Even if you don't like it, you've still got to do it. So what happens? The spirit is like, it's warm, it's not hot. Because it's something that you need to do to get to your destination. Okay, you do it. But there are other subjects that you absolutely love, you adore, you admire. And given a choice, you would only dedicate your entire life studying that subject. But we don't have a choice to do that either. So automatically it boils down to the fact that we've got to balance the two, which means Swami says, neither can you always have a good time always, nor can you have a bad time always. So it's got to be a mix of sad and happiness, sadness and happiness. Same way, good subject and bad subject. Something that you really love to do and something that you really hate to do. So that's what helps you make your choices in life. And next time when you start out on doing something, you start developing that spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you look at words, you look at Swami's message. Why do we come for Bal Vikas?
Oh.
Answer my question. Why do we come for Bal Vikas?
I mean, to some extent, this like Bal Vikas to know, but why do I show up? I think it's because we're all trying to like grow in our own journey to like self-realization, or like to go closer to Swami in some way.
Okay. To go closer to Swami in some way. Well said. Because everybody's journey is different.
Right.
Destination is same.
Right.
Correct? Some might go to Woodlands and then come to Swami. Some might go to Changi Airport and come to Swami.
Right.
So, but for everything, the first step is very important. Taking that initiative. That is the jolt that I'm talking about.
Okay.
And we come to Bal Vikas because it inculcates some sort of a discipline, which I'm going to discuss with you all, because those points might help you get a few more kind of tidbits out of what can be adopted. How do we actually understand the 9-point code of conduct?
Right.
Okay. And then that will help you connect with sail it as well. How do we sail in the ocean?
Understand. Got you.
Okay. Good question. Very good question, Pushan. Well done.
Thanks, brother.
Any other questions? Are the youth asleep or kind of banging their head against the wall?
Come on, guys.
No questions? Okay, I take silence to be an approval for me to move to the next. So I'll just share a small experience with you people. So this is from one of the devotees' homes in India. And what used to happen was when we used to sing bhajans, vibhuti, kumkum, turmeric, sandalwood paste. And in some cases, tulsi paste would come out of it. Like you see here, green is tulsi, basil leaves. Okay. You've got sandalwood, you've got turmeric, you've got kumkum, vermilion. Okay. So we used to go to this devotee's house. If you know, you must have heard of the other abode where Swami used to visit very often in Bangalore, which is called Whitefield. So Uncle Chakrapani was the one who was one of the trustees there, as well as the one who got the Sai Ramesh Hall built. So at that point in time, he was kind of instrumental in his journey with Swami. So when we used to visit his home and have bhajans on Saturdays, so Kumkum, Vibhuti, and all this used to come on Swami's picture. There used to be a picture of the Paduka near Swami's chair. And Uncle Chakrapani's mother used to say, Anand, you start with Ganesha. So one of the days I started with Ganesha, and what happened? Vibhuti started kind of flowing of the picture. So as we went to the second speed, there was more Vibhuti appearing. Then by the third speed, the whole picture was almost covered. So auntie was excited. She said, I'm able to see Swami. I'm able to feel Swami. Anand, can you sing the next bhajan? So I sang the next bhajan. So there were more things happening around. It was very exciting because people in the house were it was like a sight for everybody. Hey, what's happening? Swami's picture, what's happening? Everybody was excited. So I started singing, sang the third bhajan, sang the fourth bhajan, sang the fifth. Auntie said, no problem, Swami is here, you sing. But I was not able to see Swami. that was the time when Swami was really testing. He said, I will see why, that is, Swami usually tests us, right? And for me, I never love making a show of things. Never, never, ever. Just because Swami is giving us something, it doesn't mean I go and exhibit it to everybody. If Swami means or Swami wants others to see it, it'll happen on its own. Like these experiences, right? So most of the times, that's why I keep quiet and continue to do Swami's service through whatever possible. Because whenever we are having this monologue, what it does is it only makes us hear what we want to hear. But when we dive deep into service and services, we kind of tend to give an ear to the others. So the joke is that I kept on singing. So I almost sang for 2.5 hours until I almost lost my voice. Because that auntie said, Swami wants you to sing, Pa. You have to continue somehow. You need to sing. I said, Auntie, I don't have any more strength to sing. And those days there were no mics. This is in the early 90s. No microphones, no speakers. And the house had about 100 odd people. And when the individual used to sing, nobody used to be able to match my Shruti as well. So all the dilemma was there. Then I said, Swami, you take care. I surrender. Beyond this, whether voice comes out or it comes out like a frog, I start croaking, it is all up to you. Whatever you do, it is your will, Swami. Swami made me sing for another 2 hours after that dilemma. So totally 4.5 hours we sang that day, starting in the afternoon at 2:30. So we went all the way to the evening when at one point in time, we were hardly able to, we had to dig in that mound of the mixture to find Swami's picture. Swami blessed everybody immensely that day in that house. Many people came and said, we literally have not experienced Swami or the vibrations. And many of them were new to Swami. That was the first time they were coming to that house because they had heard of the miracles. Because miracles are Swami's visiting cards, right? They are the ones that need to pull people. So I said, Swami, this is marketing tactic. This is not correct. So next time I'm not coming to this house, I'm not singing bhajan, Swami. I will not be able to. Sorry, excuse me. I'm not for this. I'm not cut out for this job. Swami said, I am giving the vibhuti. I am bringing my devotees. I am singing through you. And it is all my will. So where is that I in that? That opened my eyes again. See, every time we need reminders because we are swimming in this ocean, right? We start with our understanding of spirit because we tend to become like the horse. And we only tend to look at that because that's our understanding. Then he reminded, you basically and your mind need to be like a parachute. It will only function when it is open. Thank you, Swami. At your service and at your services. So we hardly realize what we are closing ourselves to because of our experiences and because of mostly the influence on the media, the people, and we are hardly many times given little choices. And by the time we have made a choice, we always start, oh, I'm not sure whether this will work or not. That is a wrong spirit to start with. Because here Swami was pushing me, because he was pushing my limits, because I had a limit in my head that, oh, I can only sing for 2 hours. After that day, once he made me sing for about 4.5 hours, I realized that this voice is yours, Swami. This body is yours. I'm extremely apologetic and sincerely apologetic and extremely sorry, wrong words. So that I'm limiting this body. Please use this as your instrument for the best possible results. Then he said, what do you mean best possible? When it's divinely chosen and ordained, it is the best of the best. So don't limit it according to your understanding of the best. So do you want to see what best means? Come, from now on, we will embark on a journey. This he told me in 1993. And since then, wow, it's been a roller coaster ride, which I've been loving. Because I shared with you, right? Which are the places that I've traveled to? Everywhere he's been through, everywhere that I've been there and I've been through, he's been with me. So when I was in India, I grew up in Dubai. And I came back to India. Swami sent me back to India to study because Swami said, you should go back and study there in India because you should understand your culture. You should appreciate it. I said, Swami, there also you're going to do lots of these miracles. People are just going to throng and they're just going to make a mess of everything. That is how I used to think, because for me, it used to be like, I need to go to a silent place. I need to be like me and Swami. And I do my work quietly with my head down, no talking to anybody, just come out, say Sai Ram, and that's it. Sai Ram used to be the maximum words that used to come out at that point in time. And I used to be extremely shy. If I'm given a closed room and I'm given some work, I'll finish that and come out. I'll ensure that that is done with Swami's grace. And whatever Swami has told me, that instruction will be carried out to the T. So at that point in time, I used to always think, wow, Swami, A380 is fantastic. It's the world's largest aircraft. So I want to fly in it someday. Now, youth always remember, when you think, the mind is the most powerful transceiver. It's a combination of a transmitter and a receiver. So anything that you think, those thoughts are very powerful. They are the ones that are being transmitted into the universe. Even until date, Swami keeps teasing me. You thought about it at that time. Remember these words. Huh? You thought about it at that time. Now, pay for it in a good way. Okay. So when I was young, I always used to think, hey, A380 is the largest aircraft. At some point in time, I should be able to fly that aircraft. Okay. And over a period of time, when I heard, hey, he's traveling business class, I used to think, lucky fellow. I hope I can also someday travel in business class. But only Swami will sit, okay? And only if it is meant for serving Swami. Okay. That was sometime in 2000, 2004, that time, okay, time frame, when these large aircrafts were being planned and kind of everybody was flying business class. And, it was like the time when I was in a particular group of people. They always used to kind of show off, but with a positive sense. I'll tell you why. So what happened, one of the times when I was at the Dubai airport, I was transiting. Swami said, Ananda, do you remember that when you were young, you said that I need to fly A380 and business class? I said, yes, Swami, that's right. Now, every time you're flying A380, have you forgotten that? I said, Swami, you are the master database. Okay. You have to tell me what I thought when, because I don't remember. He said, yes, when you were at that point in time, then, yes, Swami, correct. That was the time I thought about it. Ananda, remember, thoughts are always very, very positive. Whatever you emit into the universe, it comes to me. And I'm there waiting and always saying, Tathastu, Tathastu, Tathastu. So be it, so be it, so be it. So don't tell yourself that you're not fit for it. You don't deserve it. You don't. Oh, Swami, as you go. Then he said, Ananda, shall we kind of travel business class this time? I said, Swami, you know what is best. My boarding pass is already issued. It is for economy class. He said, just wait. All this is happening in the airport after a long journey. I was very tired and sleepy as well because this was early in the morning, just after sunrise. He said, okay, just wait. Then there was an announcement, Anand Sampat, please come to the counter. Then they said, sir, this is your boarding pass. You've been upgraded to the business class. You can go to the business class lounge and enjoy the breakfast there. And then we will kind of announce and then you can board the aircraft. I was in tears. Not enough words to thank Swami. Because when we connect with that omnipresent, there's nothing that he cannot do. So Swami said, take this picture as a proof of my blessings for you and always look at it when times are very, very challenging. Because when I have willed it, nothing can make it impossible. Because I am possible. I am possible. I am possible. He said that and he said, come, let's finish breakfast and let's go board. The flight was full, except for one seat next to me. He sat there and he said, you wanted proof that I will fly with you right at that time. Now I will prove it to you. Now, most of the flights, even if they are full, most of the seats right next to me, only the seat next to me is usually empty because I'm so used to it. Now it's become like the spirit for me to fly is because I'm flying with Swami. And I always used to think, Swami, when we are on the ground, we are very grounded. We are down to earth. But at least when we are flying, when we are in between, I'm closer to you. Swami said, most of the times you have to be down to earth, but yet connected. You have to fly, but with control. Always remember, I'm with you when you're flying. Every journey is towards me. Always remember. Okay, so these are two of my experiences that I wanted to share with people because these are all it's like a dream that I had at a particular time, and Swami kind of fulfilled it at a time when I least expected it. That is because of the exercises that he puts us through, the tough times that we face. When we are willing to face it with his grace and take it with whatever, spirit that is the right spirit for that time, basically there's nothing to beat it, nothing to beat divine will. Questions? Because next section, I will map those 9-point code of conduct with sailors. Any questions? No?
I think Poshan is gesturing and speaking. I don't know whether he knows that he's mute. Poshan? No. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, Himani also.
I have no questions.
No questions. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, or we can keep the questions to the end.
Okay, sure. Sure. But what are your key takeaways from that is what you need to write down and then share with me, with us at the towards the other part of the session, okay? Towards the latter half of the session. So quickly, I will just run through how how Swami has been teaching to map the 9-point code of conduct into Say-Lit and become Psi-Lit. Okay. So what is the number one discipline in the 9 code of conduct? It is about Namasmarana, chanting the name of the Lord. Because of that mantra, it creates the right spirit. It creates a positivity around us. It gives us the energy required for the jolt, right? Journey of loving transformation. So when we keep on chanting and we have the right spirit, it develops an attitude within us to be able to face the challenges of life, challenges of the day, challenges of the hour, any challenge with the grace of the God, with the grace of God, grace of Swami. And when we move to discipline 2, when we start reading discourses, when we look at spiritual articles, when we do spiritual reads, when we read through anything that motivates us, that keeps us connected, we are basically looking at Swami's words, inspire me, so that I can swim. We are trying to set our GPS. We are trying to reposition our GPS, realign. Discipline 3 is most important because until you get down to the practicals, it is as good as trying to read a book and imagining in your mind that you can swim in the largest of swimming pools and you can swim the ocean. And nowadays, we've got lots of people who sit down and kind of keep on giving advices as to how we can become better spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? We listen to a lot of these things, but out of those, what can we pick? What can we implement? And how can that implementation help in the self as well as selflessness? That is again, fine-tuning the spirit through service, through practical implementation. The fourth discipline is eating the right thing, eating the right food, having the proper nutrition in the body, eating on time, eating just as much as is enough. All this also contributes towards keeping our health in place so that we can swim in the ocean and keep on getting connected with the right spirit. Too much of anything is bad. Okay. So, right amount of food at the right time with the right ingredients makes us have the right spirit as well, contributes towards having the right spirit. Then, very importantly, today everybody is talking about wellness, right? Wellness is a kind of lifestyle and wellness. So only if you are well, and if you are not in the well, when you're down, can you lead a good life? But many of us, many times, because of our understanding, our circumstances, everything put together, 360-degree view, we are always in the well. Because we think that anything around us is what it is. We take it at its face value, forgetting that Swami is always looking at us from above. So from the well, if we look up and we see a ray of light, that is Swami's guidance. Always remember, look up. I used to crack a joke because most of the football players, cricket players, whenever these players do something and have achieved something, they always look up, right? So then I used to joke, Swami, are they kind of asking you your permission? Are you communicating with them at that point in time? Is there a broadband connectivity at that point in time? He says, yes, that's the best example because they started with the right spirit. They set their GPS in the right direction. They never gave up. Whatever balls were thrown at them, they made sure that they used the best of their training and discipline and the things that they have learned through that service. Continuous, constant, consistent practice is what led them to this. So always remember, when you look at those stars, they are ATMs. Very important. Speak softly, sweetly, and lovingly. Because once we have gotten Swami's teachings imbibed in us, right, and we inculcate and we practice them on a regular basis, what happens is it becomes a style. Apart from the diet becoming a lifestyle, speaking softly and listening to people itself becomes our style. A small anecdote. When I was working for the small company called Microsoft, I had a boss who was like very loud spoken, and he hardly used to let the customer finish speaking and always consistently interrupting. So the clients were absolutely put off. So slowly they called me to the side and they said, Anand, next meeting onwards, just make sure that we finish speaking first and then we will kind of get him in. But then it happened 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Then I said, Swami, how can I tell my boss without hurting him? So Swami said, I'll give you an opportunity. One of the times when you're in a conversation one-on-one, I will provide that opportunity. But don't become too dependent on me. For everything you're asking me, Swami, how? Swami, how? No, that shouldn't become the dependency. It should become the interdependency and the independency. Oh, yeah, Swami. So next time he provided me the opportunity. So I requested my boss. I said, sir, this is what is happening. Customer has requested that you let them speak. Oh, is it? I never realized that I was making this mistake because I'm taking medicines for my pressure. So probably it's making me anxious. I said, okay, sir, next time, if you can probably take a glass of water and sip while the customer is speaking, probably that will help you calm down. He said, wow, fantastic, Anand. I never noticed that this is what was happening. So thanks for telling me. And yeah, I'll improve myself. He's way more elder to me. But Swami gave me that opportunity to kind of express myself in a way where I never hurt anybody. But from the next time onwards, the customer asked, hey, Anand, what did you do to him? What is the magic powder or dust that you used? I said, nothing. This is what happened and this is how I explained. And because he's on medications, he was anxious. Customer said, oh, I'm really sorry. We really didn't realize that he's undergoing a lot of pressure at the back. So it's okay. Next, they all became even closer friends. So the way Swami brought about that style, okay, when we started thinking, when we started praying to Swami, when I started having that spirit that Swami always wanted or was telling me to have, things automatically kind of aligned themselves. This was something where life was always around. Now with COVID in place, we are still having online bhajans because that brings the spirit amongst us, right? Of being a communion, of being a family. Always, all the activities somehow are centered. I used to ask Swami, you say this should not be a center of attraction, but it is the center that always attracts people. What a paradox, Swami. Because when Swami can play with us with words, I also always kind of have that back and fro with Swami, right? To and fro, back and fro. So then he said, see, when it is Psi Center, you are missing the meaning of the word. Put the double apostrophe quotes on the side and it becomes Psi Center. Psi is in the center of everything. So am I. Swami, so am I is in the center of everything. So when you look at it that way, automatically all the activities are attracted to me. All that you tend to do, it becomes a part of me. It becomes an offering to me. Everything then results from that grace and blessings. So that is why we have it as a part of the Psi Center activities. That is why we have Balvikas. But then one of the most important things is in today's world, communication. You name it, take it, media, WhatsApp, Facebook, everything is about communication. How information is packaged and presented is communication. So we are also a transceiver. Remember I told you this word, transmitter and receiver. So we transmit, receive, transmit, receive. So when we start with Namasmarana, we are tuning ourselves to the right frequency. Remember, every radio station has a particular frequency with which it can broadcast. How do the receivers receive? When they tune to that particular frequency. So when we are chanting Om Bhuva Suvaha, our body is kind of getting tuned to that particular frequency. We are setting out at that frequency. We are transmitting universally. When we read the discourses, it is gigahertz and megahertz of frequencies, which is a particular spectrum that is aligned. When we do service, it's another spectrum that is aligned of broadcast. When we have the dietary discipline, this Namasmarana, the discourses and the messages and the services that we do all get aligned. All beautifully align themselves because that is how it is supposed to work in a proper synchronization. That is what then brings the output. When we speak to the others, our thought, words, and deeds are all beautifully aligned according to the divine will because they are tuned to the divine frequency. When we come to the Psi Center for activities, for Psi being the center, all our activities are around Psi because Psi is the center. And when we are there, nothing but love emanates. And when we speak lovingly, that is his message. We are becoming true examples. We have been doing our part to adopt the lifestyle. And communication is the most important thing nowadays. Everything is about the style of communication. How you communicate. How are you able to get your ideas across? TikTok is the best example, right? Within a very short snippet, people say anything that used to take about 100 hours last time. That is how technology has changed everything. Everything is moving towards nanotechnology. Smaller and smaller, but the effect is massive. When we adopt sealing on desires, we are having the right spirit. So Swami says material things are not needed. But I always have this fight with Swami. Swami, you say material things are not needed. But without money in this world, we cannot do anything. Can I go to a shop and say, hey, Swami has told me not to work for money? He said, misinterpretation. Material you can have as much as is necessity, not greed. Agreed? Swami, agreed. 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 So that's how he was playing with the words. So I said, yes, Swami, agreed. And he said, agreed. Yes, that is what is, if you separate greed, it becomes desire. Greed is desire. But when you agree, when you add A, it changes the whole thing. And what is A? A is the very first intonation of the Om. Akaram, Ukaram, Makaram, the creation. So when you separate your desire from the creation and the creator's will, it becomes greed. But the moment these two kind of get together, it becomes a greed because you're agreeing with the divine himself. And that is the spirit with which you need to look at everything. So when we follow these 8 to whatever bits and pieces that we can, and because we have to pick and choose stuff that suits us, stuff that gives us that satisfaction at the end of the day or during the journey that, hey, this is kind of having an impact on me. Okay. And the last one is very, very important because that sets the precedence for everything else. Daily meditation and prayers. Because meditation is God talking to us. Prayer is we talking to God. So there is download and upload, both happening. Okay. So because it's duplay, two-way traffic. That's very important. When we do that on a daily basis, it satisfies 3 main things. One is we make sure that it becomes a part of our style. Spiritually transformed youth as leading examples. Because when we start working along Swami's guidelines, we set a style for ourselves. It doesn't mean that you become a person in the society where you become distinguished. No. Society is the things around you, the factors that influence you and basically make you stand out. You become outstanding. And then you learn to swim. Swami's words inspire and then kind of, it's a motivation. I need to go to the next step. I need to go to the next step. I need to go to the next step. But then what was the basis for all this? We started with the right spirit. So when we meditate, we connect with the divine will and the frequency. Because I told you, remember, each one, Namasmarana is a particular bandwidth. Discourses, Swami's messages, the motivation, things that appeal is another bandwidth. Service, when we get deep down into it, like say, for example, the youth are preparing the slides for bhajans. That's service. Because when you're preparing the slides, you're following a certain pattern. You're bringing in a habit. When you are singing bhajans, you're doing namasmarana. You're doing seva as well. You're doing service because the bhajans attract people and they get them in tune. Some of them get into prayers or some of them do meditation. And at that point in time, some of them are reminded of their greed, that they need to kind of merge their desires into the will of God, with the will of God. And thereby you are helping them improve their communication, broadband communication. And with that connection, somehow that influence of that namasmarana, communication, sealing on desire, they go back and say, hey, today I felt peace. So if I can involve myself in any of the center activities, please let me know. When they start coming to the center, they say, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. They start speaking softly. They have a style of their own. Then when they come to Balvikas and listen to either the parents or the teachers, they start kind of getting into the cycle of discipline. They start following certain dietary discipline. Once they start following, then they say, hey, sir, can I come in for some service? Any seva opportunity, anything that I can do? Then there is a touch to the community, touch point. Because they are going there, then they say, let me see what Baba has actually said about this, doing service, then about discipline, then about speaking softly. Oh, that means I should read Swami's messages. When they start reading Swami's messages, Swami always says, chant my divine name. So then they come back to Namasmarana. So whichever way you put the cycle, something somewhere has a starting point. Something somewhere is a starting point for somebody somewhere. And trust me, having walked this journey with Swami so far as behind him, it's like every day is new experience for me. and for all of you, undoubtedly. But some of us get attracted to certain miracles. Some of us understand what that whole jigsaw puzzle is. Some of us then go back and sit back and think, contemplate that, hey, just because we did this, probably we're getting more results. Okay, let's look at it. So this basically, that 9-point code of conduct, I was asking Swami, please explain it to me. How do I bring it down to the youth? How do I make it in a package where the youth will understand according to, okay, if I use WhatsApp, what happens? If I use Facebook, what happens? If I use TikTok, what happens? If I use WeChat, what happens? How can I improve that communication with the youth? Because everybody has got a different vibe. Everybody has got a different choice. Everybody has got a different package. Then Swami said, start with the basics. Share. Once you share this, leave it to them to check, connect. And once they connect with who? With me. And once they connect with me, what will I do? Switch on the washing machine. They will go through the wash, rinse, and spin cycle, which is the karma of life, which is the karma as well as the ocean of existence. So both, anyway, will kind of protect them. So then Swami said, if the youth always keep asking, what is this namasmarana about? What is this 9-point code of conduct? Swami said, think of this as a TikTok video. Now imagine a rugby player. Imagine with all his gear, with the helmet, with those shoulder pads, with everything, and now he has got the rugby ball and he's running, okay, because he's got to reach the goal. But each side, there are 16 people, 16 plus 15, 15 in his favor, 16 against him. But you know that he has got God in him. So the devotee is like that, guarding that ball, going to the goal post, which is me, but I'm within him and I'm pulling him to me. And Namasmarana is going to help him. Things will come and hit him from all sides. It's like that TikTok movie, like just imagine going through all that. People kind of pushing, some pulling the leg, some pulling the ear, some pulling kind of others hitting the helmet. It is just like that. Life is like that. Ocean in which we are swimming today is just like that. You're kids, but you are still kind of just about to step into the corporate world. But you might have faced some of these challenges already. Mom telling you something, dad telling you something, sister telling you something, brother telling you something, your compatriot in Balvikas telling you something, your classmate telling you something, but everything either contradicting or contraindicating, which have allergies, right? Which you don't agree with. So this is one of the simplest ways Swami made me understand. So that is why I wanted to share with the youth as to how this model of 9-point code of conduct can be imbibed in our daily life. Okay. After this, 2 more slides. So I'll pause for questions. So how is it going so far? Everything is like OHT, overhead transmission, or something is going through as well?
It's very interesting, brother. At least to me, definitely. Yeah, it's getting transmitted. I'm receiving.
Thank you. Sign up. Any of the youth so far?
I think all of us. It's very it's different, and like, yeah, it's a lot to process, of course, but perhaps later we can share our key takeaways.
Excellent. Excellent. So I will have more time for that. Oh, it's only 10 minutes left. Okay. So quickly, always remember, one of the key things that Swami keeps telling me is that know the art of knowing and knowing, denying, saying no to things. Okay. Very important. We've been talking of communication, because connection and communication. Now, only if you connect, you can communicate. And while communicating, you need to have the connection. You can't have a flaky internet connection, because it's just like the mind. When you're trying to meditate and mom is calling and you can smell food, then you're thinking of your homework, then you are thinking, oh, tomorrow I need to buy this shoe. Everything happens at that point in time. So when you are able to relay, convey, connect, you are the medium. You need a skill for that. You need an ability. You need to do it continuously so you become competent. You need to develop a competence. So that put together is called a communication skill. And the communication skill is communicating with God and with people in the way he wants us to communicate. Okay, now how do we connect with the 4 states? Very important, because physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, these are the 4 layers which we always encounter on a day-to-day basis. Always have a checklist. I have a book where I write down and I say, okay, at this level, I have connected with this person physically and I was able to kind of have a conversation. But sometimes mentally, I was just not able to connect with that person. We shook hands, that was physical contact. Then after that, mentally, I was just not able to understand or interpret what he was telling, like some of you might be feeling during this conversation. Then some of you might be experiencing that emotional anguish. Hey, he's going on kind of downloading stuff. How do I understand so quickly? It's so much to process. And this guy speaks so fast. And this guy can speak nonstop without even thinking. You're undergoing an emotional turmoil there. And then spiritual is you're here because Swami willed it. There is no choice, but you have to be here because he has willed it. That is why you're here. So I write down such instances as to how many times in a week Swami connected me with people just at a physical level where I shook hands, I met with them, but there was no physical connection. What did I get out of them? So next week, what I do is I focus more on connecting with people who are in my emotional circle. And the week after, what I do is I connect more with the people on the spiritual level. Or I connect with Swami. But connecting with Swami is just not enough. I need to go out and connect with the other people who are spiritually inclined or spiritually declined. So this needs to be one of the methods in which we improve our communication, because what happens is then we find which of those 9 point of code of conduct is able to help us connect. Only when we connect, we can communicate. Because until you find with whom, what, where, how, and why you're going to connect, for what purpose, it's always going to be a challenge. So Swami said, you should know the differentiation between no and no. Learning is a matter of gathering knowledge. Like what you're all doing right now, what I'm also doing, I'm learning. But then refined knowledge becomes wisdom, because it would have provided the optimum results with the least exertion, the least expense, and at the quickest possible time within that. And if you know who is the person on the right, Steve Jobs, he said, focusing is about saying no. When he took over Apple, what he did was he did away with everything and anything that was not contributing positively to their ecosystem, business ecosystem. The moment he started saying no to those things, the company started growing automatically. And today, it's the first company to be valued at $2 trillion. So somebody thought of how things need to be done. Then he said, no, this doesn't work in my, according to my blueprint. No, this will not work. He made that decision because he learned a few things. He turned it into wisdom over a period of time by continuously and consistently kind of working on it. So when you connect with self, you have to take account and keep stock of what you said yes. And it's a conscientious decision that you made, but it hurt you. Then after that, you change the mode of communication with yourself. Don't hit yourself down every time there is a failure, because failure is the stepping stone to success. The more hits you get means the better you are in the process of being kind of rubbed into that stone that is going to shine. Then thought processing is very, very important. And when somebody tells you something out of impulse, if you shout at them, it means you've not given it enough time to process. And always remember that between reactive and proactive, there is a lot of difference. Today, people are moving towards predictive analytics because people are tired in the market of waiting for things to happen. Then at the end of it, process data and then see what went wrong. So from the process data, they're moving to being proactive. So they are trying to predict, they're moving to the future as to whether a problem could happen. What caused a problem in the past? What's the root cause analysis? How do we fix it? How did we fix it? Whether it was effective? How much money did we save? So it's again building that learning and the knowledge base. So that's what you kids need to, the youth need to keep on learning. Now, just a quick this thing. So in my knowledge base, I always thought that, oh, BMW was the best car because I saw Swami. Always, I had the opportunity to help unpack that BMW 7 Series that came to Parthi. I had the opportunity to just unpack, remove the packaging that came along with it. So then I thought, wow, what a car. When I grow up, I should have such a car. Okay. Then after that, there was also another opportunity to clean, wash Swami's Jaguar one of the times. Then I said, wow, what a car, fantastic, I should have that. So what happened? Now I learned something. And then from that time, there was only one car in my head, BMW. My first car in my life that Swami blessed with is BMW. Then he said, do you know what SJG and T stands for? Swami justifies and grants truthfully. Because at that point in time, you knew what to say no to. There were many cars that came in between. I said, no. Swami made me say no. I said, oh, Swami, but last time you told me about a Jaguar also, because I wanted to have that car. Swami said, okay. Swami knows best, honestly. Because I thought Swami justifies and grants truthfully, but then he said, Swami knows best, honestly. Then after the Jaguar, I said, Swami, it's okay. I want to go back to the BMW, if you permit. Then he said, okay. Swami loves patience unlimited. Everything has a meaning, the spirit with which we start. I always used to say, Swami, I want vibhuti at home. I want honey at home. One of the days I was so upset with Swami. I said, no, until you give me, I'm not moving. Because people always say that your presence, see, despite being having walked with Swami in so many journeys with that omnipresence, I become impatient. And over a period of time, that is why Swami has taught, the last car's number is Swami loves patience unlimited. First message is have that patience. But he also granted, because Swami justifies and grants truthfully. So he granted vibhuti on the picture at home. Then all that droplets that you see coming down the picture, that is honey. So he granted all that. He said, I know when is the best time to grant, but as long as you follow one key thing. When you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But when you listen, you might learn something new. So always listen to me. Listen to Swami. Meditation is very important. Prayer is very important. Following my messages, reading through, seeing what works, what doesn't is very important. Contemplation is very important. Managing that skill. Go back and contemplate. Why we contemplate? We contemplate what worked, what didn't. That root cause analysis is very important. You have to go back and pray. Sit, learn what has worked, learn something new. Make yourself uncomfortable, because when you start entering the comfort zone, make sure you learn something new again. Because life is all about that. The ocean is not always calm. There are many big fish, whales, everything, all types of creatures in the ocean that can take away your life anytime, any moment. And that is very true about life, because we never know our expiry date. Swami sent us with an unknown expiry date. We are the only packaging that comes without an expiry date. Okay, so practice this, knowing and knowing. Focus on the yes. You think it worked, it will work always. Have that magical formula. Exercise the idea muscle. Write down things daily, and I write down 5 ideas every day. I've got a notebook. I always keep a notebook. And I keep writing 5 ideas every day. It will happen sometime. Some of my ideas that I wrote down sometime in 2000 are coming to fruition now. It helps communicating with the self, because when I tell myself, I'm setting myself in the spirit. And when I read Swami's words, it kind of inspires me on how I can do things better. Then it trains the brain to say, oh, last time it worked, this time it didn't work. Why? I can perhaps make it work better. Then that continuous training and development is what makes it a success. That wisdom comes. And finesse of doing a skill makes it an art. So once you have kind of mastered it, right, you've got a long life ahead of yours. But when you start right now no and no, you'll be able to clearly identify what works for you, what doesn't. Make it over a period of time. And then that's what is going to help you communicate with yourself. Look inwards, God hides there. And then from there, you become Sai lit. Because once you keep looking, once you start looking inside and you become the lighthouse, Swami will send people looking for you. And that is decided by Swami when who comes looking. So with those so many words, I think it's time as well. I'm 2 minutes beyond time. So this has been the experience and the learning, which is still under development. So I hope this has kind of lit up a few bulbs for our youth to be Sai lit in the coming few days. So thanks for the opportunity. And with that, I hope we can spare about 10 minutes of time to just hear if there are questions. Or at least the takeaways. We'll just do a quick round.
Brother, actually, I just got a very sorry, I just got a very small question. Is there like, in the big diagram you showed us, but like the 9 codes of conduct, and then you linked like all the sided things to us.
Yeah.
So like there was style, swim, and everything, but
correct.
Where do ATMs come in that 9 code of conduct diagram?
Okay, those are all people like who have established themselves, okay, who follow this 9-point code of conduct on a daily basis. We can learn from them, our parents.
So ATMs are just like sources of inspiration, is it? Like they are, like yourself, is it you're an ATM?
No, not me. Don't take me into learning, okay? So, but people from whom you can get some knowledge which will help you develop wisdom.
Okay.
Okay, because now in today's IT world, the smallest piece of representation is called bit, right? You've got 0 and 1. When you combine zeros and ones, it makes a byte. And when you process bytes, it becomes data. Data, when processed and represented in a meaningful way, it becomes information. Refined information becomes knowledge. And refined knowledge becomes wisdom. And today, artificial intelligence is all about driving knowledge and wisdom, knowledge towards wisdom. That is why they use machine learning in nowadays, okay, in the technology world, where artificial intelligence and machine learning, because to be able to build a machine that can decide on its own how it needs to work, they have to have machine learning. The machine needs to keep learning. That's how we are. We have machine learning. But we need to use natural intelligence to be able to process. So whatever you get from people who have that knowledge, but for you, it'll be data, because these are data points for you. ATMs usually give us data, because from ATM, you draw out the money, right? And then when you draw out the money, you don't draw out like, I'll go $1, today I need to buy chocolate. You go draw $1 and then pay for the chocolate. Tomorrow, I need to buy a notebook. Okay, I'll go withdraw $2 and I pay for the notebook. No, but you withdraw $10 and keep with you. Then of that, you apportion, you say, okay, $2 for the notebook, $1 for the chocolate, $1 for my friend, $1. So that way the ATMs, you draw from them various data points. Then you keep that with you, and over a period of time, hey, today I will use this point here and see whether it works for me or not. Then you derive your knowledge. Then if it keeps working time and again, it becomes wisdom for you.
Thanks, brother.
Okay, and for that, communication with the self is very important. That is why every day, just make sure. Sometimes I keep talking to myself. So Sister Brinda always asks, hey, are you mad or what? You keep talking to yourself. So that's because I have brought in a discipline where I keep talking to myself in a way where, because the communication with Swami is happening. And at the same time, we've got to go through things. So it's like internal, external, external to internal, internal to external. So that's when, then you think of ATMs. Oh, today I met this person. He had this information for me. This message for me. So I'll process it and then take it back as knowledge. Does that appeal?
Thanks, brother.
Okay. That was the long and short of what you'd asked for. Sorry.
That's perfect. I love the bit of IT there as well, but
sorry?
I learned a bit of IT as well, right? Like the data, machine learning and stuff. Yeah,
Good.
so that's good knowledge. I'll refine it.
Okay, fantastic. Pick what appeals and build your knowledge base. That's very important.
Sure, we can move on with the takeaways.
Okay, sure.
So Pavitra shall go first.
Maybe before that, as in probably we might have other questions from.
Oh right. Right.
Yeah, and then we can have a takeaway session as well.
Sure. Just conscious
Any
of
other
time.
questions?
7 minutes past the time, so just if the youths are hungry, then
So,
I have a question. I have a question. It's anyway, it's eating at home or takeaway also. So I was a little bit I'm a bit unclear about this thing that you said where you were reaching out to Swami to tell you what to do.
Yep.
But then Swami is telling you to stop depending on me.
Correct.
And then you spoke about this sort of interdependency, then independency. Okay, I must say that I got a bit lost in the sea there. So I want to understand it, because you see, as I progress, as I endeavor to progress on this spiritual path, I always know that I've got to rely on Swami 100%. And so then there's a little bit of this tension between what you say and what I'm thinking. Maybe you just help me to clarify that.
That's a fantastic question. So we start with the sea, okay? So because sea and then the ocean, right? So now what happens is when we look at moving forward, we were talking about spirit, right? Many of the people, Swami says, we have the tendency to kind of keep procrastinating, right? Where we say that, oh, we'll do it tomorrow. That is mainly because that does not seem attractive. Imagine picking up a broom and sweeping on a daily basis. The end result is cleanliness. But cleanliness is next to godliness, because cleanliness is next to godliness is only pasted on the wall, but it is not imbibed. So what happens is that dependency on myself is the first thing. Now, because I've understood that cleanliness is next to godliness, now to reach that, what I need to do, I need to be dependent on myself. Now, dependency on myself. So for that, I need to pick up the broom. So before picking up the broom, shall I ask Swami, Swami, do you think it is the right time to pick up the broom? Then Swami will say yes. Then Swami, it is Rahu Kala now. So do you think if between 4:30 and 6, I don't sweep, and 6 to 9 is actually not looking good according to the almanac, can I do it after that? Because as human beings, based on whatever we've undergone, we put preconditions to a lot of things and prerequisites. So that creates the dependency and interdependency. Because we keep asking Swami, should we do it? Should we do it? Should we do it? Though the baseline is all about surrender. We have surrendered. But then when should we ask Swami is usually the question. That is the meditation time. Not when we are physically active and we are thinking that, hey, should I do this or not? Because then that is not discipline. Swami says, discipline comes in when you have already made up your mind, you started with the right spirit, and you're going ahead no matter what. So that becomes the independency. Swami then changes the context of interdependency. Now, interdependency is to depend on the Swami within you, because Swami has already given you cleanliness is next to godliness. Pick up the broom, sweep, make the place spanking clean. It's just, it should shine. There is no need to ask, should I pick up the broom? Should I take the, should I mop? Should I do whatever? Cleanliness is next to godliness. However you achieve, the destination is the same. Result is the same. So that's why Swami says, don't procrastinate. Don't delay. Don't keep thinking whether if I do this, will it work? And that will kind of also make it happen in a way where we are sometimes worried of making a decision. Or we've made a decision, but it's wrong and we beat ourselves up. So what happens is our vibrations, our frequencies drop by far. Then we forget the basic, because it has happened because it's Swami's will. Okay, it's a learning. Let's move to the next stage. So that is why that creates the dependency, independency, because one event may not be linked to the other event, because Swami perhaps wanted us to first face this issue because he's preparing us for something that is in the future, which only he knows. And if we had not taken the first step, we would never be prepared for that. So he's making these two events independent, but sometime down in the future, he would connect these two because it was meant to happen. But in the very first place, if we had never picked up the broom, never swept the place, we would have never understood that, oh, Swami was meant to come into this place. That is why this place was to be prepared. This might strike us 10 years later when we'll see Swami's footprints on Vibhuti. Then it'll strike, oh yeah, cleanliness is next to godliness. And the Vibhuti appearing is a mark of Swami blessing me with the godliness. It's a proof. It only strikes us at that point in time. So what happens is there is a bit of a give and take. If we hadn't started in the first place with the right spirit, that would have happened at a later point in time. Because Swami would have still made us go to that part, but we would have gone A, X, Y, B, C, D, and then finally to Z. Nothing wrong in it. We have different ways. We learn it in different ways. So that is why Swami said, Swami, the way he has taught through this kind of this body is basically to close your eyes and go, because I'm there. Surrender. But don't ask me hundreds of questions. To some of the projects that have been executed with His grace, there is absolutely, it's impossible. But sometimes people say, Anand, for you, Swami is always there. It is so easy. You can just ask him and you can go. I said, that's not in our contract. The moment I stop and look back and ask Swami, it is only for others. Not for myself or not for the things that I am meant to do. Because that pact is very, very clear between him and me that whatever I do has his blessing. He doesn't need to keep on reminding me on a daily basis. He's already doing enough of taking good care of me. So if he's got to again remind me, hey, I'm here for you, don't worry. It's just like the mother has got no other duty but to keep telling the child, I'm here to take care, I have to feed you, my duty is to... Mother does her duty. We have to realize that the mother will do her duty. And we are here to do our duty towards our mother. So, I mean, that has been the training. Sorry, long and short. Sorry, my answers are too long, but I hope that got at least a bit of the point across.
Yes. I understand. I think there's a lot of self-help that you need to start with.
Correct.
And proper discrimination, and then seek guidance.
And just go ahead like a bull.
Like they say in Singapore, chong.
Chong, yes.
just chong. Okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all for me. Yeah.
Great question. Thank you. Can we do a round with the youth?
Yep. So now we can like share our takeaways. Like I think there's 4 of us. How many? Yeah, 4 of us.
Pavitra, Himani, Lisa, then we've got Poshan and Surabhi.
Right. Yeah. I think Tulasi and Vasanti had to leave. Okay.
No problem. Yep.
I'll just start. So I think this session really served as a reminder for me, like because I don't really communicate with Swami much, but I think it's like very important, like you said, it like I think it's to start off the day and can just be a friend and like tell him that's what you do as well. So when you say even in flights, you look out for him and you just talk. So it's really nice, and I think I should start doing that. Yeah.
Good.
But about the acronyms and the synonyms and that one, I will like when you send us the slides, I will process it a bit more and
Sure.
I'll look into it. Thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you, Saira. Sister Himani.
Hi Ram. So I think it was super good, as in how every like word has like a deeper meaning, an acronym. And I think like what I really took away is how everything's supposed to start from within. Like you know how you say whatever you think is put out into the world, and then so that's like related to law of attraction. And I think that's something I'm trying to like follow through and practice now. And also how how you said "so am I," and then when you say it many times, it becomes Swami. So yeah, everything is like from within you. Yeah, so that's like something I guess I need to like work on. Yeah, like yourself. Yes.
Good, good. And speak to yourself. That's how Swami speaks to us as well. So don't forget that point.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sairam. All the best. Sister Lisa.
Sairam, brother.
Sairam.
That was a very beautiful session. My key takeaway would be, remember the 4 aspects: physical, mental,
Emotional and spiritual.
Emotional and spiritual, yeah. And how you said that we connect to people in these different levels, and how we would go deeper. So if you're only physically, in contact with someone, how do you go deeper into the emotional and then into the spiritual level? So that was my key takeaway, actually. But I have another question, which is a bit weird. It's not connected so much for this, but let the other youth share, then I will ask you this question,
Sure.
which has been in my head.
Please do.
Yeah, but let the other youth share first, because it's not really connected to this as much.
That's fine. No problems. Brother Poshan?
Sure. Actually, I'm so glad I showed up today, honestly. Because every week I'm wondering whether I should like make time for this, because I get like about 24 hours outside of camp. But I'm so glad I showed up today. So thank you so much, brother.
Sorry.
Yeah, so like I think my biggest takeaway was like the whole ocean concept. Because I think we are all swimming in the ocean, and like part of the reason why every week there's like or bi-weekly I'm like, should I show up, or even in camp I'm like, should I pray, that kind of thing, is because sometimes like in the ocean we get lost in our journey of like growth with Swami. So today, like I think it really helped to like set my GPS to some extent, so that I will not give up in that journey. Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Good one. Thank you, Brother Poshan. All the best. And Sister Surabhi?
Sairam.
Hi, Ram.
I really like the session today, and I really like the experiences that you shared. I think experiences is something that makes us relate more and like understand things better, because it's more like application-ish, I guess. And I really like the part where you say, and I think that was one takeaway I took today. The part where you say like, everything happens for a reason, and like whatever happens is like Swami's will that is happening.
Correct.
And you should just like, trust it and go like with it and see what happens in life, I guess. Yeah.
Fantastic point. Fantastic. Well done. Good takeaway.